You have found the Valley's most in-depth weather forecast video, the edition for Wednesday evening, the 25th day of October, 2023. This is the video we call Weather for Weather Geeks, and it's geared towards people who are into the weather, or maybe you just need a more detailed forecast due to your job or something else. This is the video for you. So oftentimes in these videos we take a look backwards before we go forwards, and we'll do that this evening with a look at today's numbers. After 76 yesterday, we did 73 today. Now this is not record territory. The record 81 today, set back in 2012. Friday, the record's a little lower hanging fruit. That record Friday is 76. I think we'll give that a pretty good run for its money coming up at the end of the week. But look how far above the average the overnight low was. 58 was the low this morning at 6:01 a.m. 39 is average at this time of the year. So yeah, way above the average once again for today. Now it's been a much more typical month in terms of precipitation when compared to a very dry September. After that parched September where hardly any rain fell during the entire month, we're right about at average at the Youngstown Warren Airport for rainfall totals. We put up a 0 again today, but for the month we're at 2.71, which is just a few hundredths of an inch above the seasonal average. As of about 7:05 this evening, a few returns on the radar. Most of this isn't reaching the ground, but there might be a random spritz or a sprinkle in a couple of spots before the evening is through. No big deal. Maybe you saw what happened last night in Mexico. Pretty remarkable stuff. I didn't cover this on Weather for Weather Geeks last evening, but I really should have, actually, because this was a really, really big story. This was Hurricane Otis, which went from a tropical storm to a Category 5 hurricane very rapidly. I mean, super rapid intensification. This was a total forecast miss on the major computer models. And so you don't see a whiff like this very often from the models, but they really whiffed completely on the intensification forecast with Otis. Unfortunately, this provided tremendous amounts of rain and wind to a high population center, Acapulco, one of the major cities in this part of Mexico. Had extensive damage, as you would expect with a Category 5 hurricane. This is the first time on record that Category 5 has impacted this part of Mexico. The rapid intensification mostly due to the very warm waters, some other factors as well, but tremendously warm waters off the coast of Mexico no doubt aided Otis. Now Otis, of course, encountered the very high mountainous terrain in Mexico today, and it's back down to a low-end tropical storm, even a depression for the rest of its lifespan. But for a time, this was just incredible what happened in Mexico last evening into the overnight. Back here in eastern Ohio, western PA, we've got a pretty good Thursday coming up. A veil of high clouds around. It'll probably be a little bit brighter than it was today on Thursday. So a decent day. Temperatures way above the average once again. We might get grazed by a shower early Friday, most of Friday just fine, including for high school football Friday evening. And with at least a partly sunny sky for a chunk of the day Friday, we'll have no trouble getting well up into the 70s. And again, the record high is 76. I think we could tie that or maybe even break it by a degree or even two in some spots by the end of the day on Friday. All right, the first of two cold fronts heading our way Saturday. What we've done with the weekend forecast, the highest chance of rain Saturday looks to be in the morning as this front pushes through. The front then kind of stalls, and while you see all this clearing Saturday morning to our north and west, it's going to be hard for us to get into much of that clearing, it looks like, during Saturday. As the front stalls, I think clouds will continue to kind of train northward for a large part of the day, and temperatures will actually go backwards for a time on Saturday. We'll start out the morning in the lower and middle 60s, and then we'll probably retreat to the 50s in at least our northern viewing area for a good chunk of the midday and afternoon, setting the stage for a cool day Sunday, and probably some wet weather to contend with Sunday as well, especially Sunday morning. Big change, though, coming next week. The second cold front arrives on Monday, knocking our temperatures back into the upper 40s, lower 50s. And middle of next week, when you consider our average high by the middle of next week is in the mid-50s. If we're 13, 14 below average, we'll have a hard time getting above 40, it looks like, for Halloween and into Wednesday, the first day of November. After that, the pattern will moderate, but this is going to be easily the coldest air mass of the season so far, descending upon our region as we ring out October and start the month of November. Speaking of November, if you've been watching my videos of late, I've mentioned this a few times, our annual winter forecast is coming up on Thursday evening, November the 9th. As usual, if you've been watching me for several years doing these winter forecasts, we'll do a short, kind of to-the-point version on TV where I'm limited by time. That'll be kind of the 3-minute version. We're going to do a much longer, more detailed version in the same place you watch Weather for Weather Geeks. Also post a blog version online for those who want to read in addition to watch the analysis of this upcoming winter, just a reminder of last winter and what a winter it was. 22.8 inches worth of snow. That's it at the Youngstown Warren Airport. If you live in Columbiana County, you saw single-digit snowfall totals last winter. But officially at the airport in Trumbull County, 22.8 and a whopping 5.9 degrees above the average. You may know at this point, if you've been following winter forecasts and some of the speculation I've been doing lately on this video, this year, unlike the last few winters where we had La Nina in the Pacific, now we have the opposite phase. We have El Nino in the Pacific. That's the warming of the waters in the equatorial Pacific, especially the eastern part of the Pacific Ocean. Not all El Ninos are alike, though, certainly for our area. El Nino has a reputation, when you look at it, kind of a long-term average, as being a fairly dry winter with maybe some warm temperatures as well. But that's when you factor in all the El Ninos in history and throw them all together and just get an average. There's a lot of variation. And just recent El Ninos, you can see that variation. This was a cold one. This was a cold one. Snowy, 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 pretty snowy. The last two, though, pretty warm, especially 2015, 2016. And yeah, not much snow in the last couple of El Ninos. The strength of El Nino means a lot. And this super El Nino of 2015, 2016 stands out. The stronger El Nino is, the warmer and less snowy it's going to be. A lot of these El Ninos on this list in recent years have been fairly weak. Now, this was a moderate one. This one was fairly moderate as well, but this one was weak. This one was weak, weak, weak. If it's a weak El Nino, it's a real wild card. If it's a strong El Nino, it tends to be on the mild side. And you'll see that playing out on this list when we talk about El Nino and La Nina. Some of the coldest winters on record are El Ninos for our area, but notice how many of them are weak. We only have one moderate one on this list. That was 2009, or 2002, 2003, I should say. When it comes to our warmest winters, a few strong El Ninos on this list. One weak one, 2019, 2020. So weak El Ninos can be pretty darn cold, but this year we're not going to have a weak El Nino. It's going to be moderate to strong. There's a lot of other factors as well. It's not just El Nino. So stay tuned. We'll be breaking down how much snow to expect, temperatures to expect month by month during the upcoming winter in our annual winter forecast coming up on Thursday, November the 9th. Look forward to seeing you then. Look forward to seeing you Thursday evening for a fresh edition of this video, the Daily Weather for Weather Geeks.